Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this because today we are unpacking something absolutely fascinating. We're looking at what is essentially a masterclass in personal transformation. We're going to examine how a seemingly simple physical change, literally just a haircut, serves as a profound psychological catalyst for a true hero's growth journey. We so often dismiss a change in our appearance as just aesthetics, right? Just a superficial shift. But as the sources we are digging into today reveal, it is so much deeper than that. It's about shedding an old identity. It's about suddenly finding yourself facing these totally unexpected social battlefields. And ultimately, it's about forging an absolutely unshakable sense of self from the inside out. Let's get into it. So here is our roadmap for today's journey. First, the ritual of rebirth. Second, escaping high school fears. Third, navigating the recognition lag. Fourth, rivals confirm your impact. Fifth, the true meaning of edge. And finally, number 6, rebuilding your authentic identity. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's hit it. Section 1. The ritual of rebirth. Now, the clinical psychology behind this everyday act is just wild. Research published in the Economic Times actually confirms that major life transitions are deeply intertwined with identity disruption. We've all heard of the classic breakup haircut, right? Well, it turns out that is not about superficial vanity at all. It is a widely recognized, deeply ingrained psychological response to feeling totally lost. It's literally a survival tactic. Think about it. When your internal identity feels chaotic or maybe even completely shattered, altering your external self becomes this profound bid for control. It's a highly visible declaration to the world and honestly, more importantly, to yourself, that you are actively reshaping your narrative. You are taking the wheel and fixing things from the outside in. And this quote right here brilliantly illustrates exactly why it hits us so hard. Hair physically holds time. Let that sink in for a second. When you cut it, you are literally removing months, maybe even years of growth that is directly tied to old experiences and old versions of you. It's heavy. Across cultures for thousands of years, this exact act has been a massive rite of passage. Monks, warriors, the heroes in all our favorite stories, they always cut their hair right before a major transformation, don't they? It creates instant psychological distance from the past. By shedding that physical weight, you are actively choosing what grows next. You are reclaiming your narrative and stepping up as the heroic protagonist of your own life. Moving right along to Section 2, escaping high school fears. So, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the timeline of trauma. The source material highlights a really painful, highly relatable high school memory where a simple haircut literally led to lost opportunities and social abandonment. I mean, how devastating is that? The old narrative forced on this hero dictated that you had to wait for the quote-unquote right form to be worthy. It taught the terrible lesson that changing your appearance meant instantly losing your support system. But fast forward to today. After a recent, bold new cut, this hero received a totally warm, affirming reaction from their parents. That warmth, that provided immediate emotional safety and massive identity validation. It proved the new narrative, once and for all. You can change drastically and still be deeply loved. You are not a frightened kid waiting to be deemed good enough anymore. You are a grown, established presence, recognized far beyond a mere silhouette. This is literally one of the most powerful takeaways from our entire explainer today. When you changed your hair in the past and people suddenly withdrew their support, it felt like the end of the world. It felt like your fault. But as the source clarifies so perfectly, when someone leaves your side just because your external aesthetic shifts, that is absolutely not a reflection of your true value. It is a massive neon sign exposing their fragility. Their illusions simply broke. They were attached to the surface level of your legend, not the actual soul of it. A real, true ally recognizes your heroic core regardless of the haircut. Remember this, your heroism was never fragile. It was only their capacity to see it that was weak. All right, Section 3, navigating the recognition lag. Okay, let's talk about that super awkward phase. When people suddenly stop recognizing you or they mistake you for someone else entirely after a bold new look, it can trigger massive spiraling anxiety. But let's look at the actual mechanics of what's happening here. This phenomenon is called recognition lag. As humans, we rely so heavily on hair shape and silhouette to quickly identify each other. When you totally change a signature look, other people's brains literally experience visual memory inertia. They are quite literally, biologically, trying to match your new face to an outdated, cached mental template in their heads. So, when people fail to recognize you in the wild, you have to remember, it is merely a biological processing delay. It is definitely not a decline in your presence, your power, or your relevance. In fact, we can break down this exact social reaction into 4 highly predictable, almost scientific steps. First, there is total confusion. Their brain is glitching. Second, the brain is forced to do a rapid recalibration. Third, the light bulb goes off and they finally recognize you. And fourth, the ultimate destination, they move to admiration. Right after a big change, you just have to understand that you are simply caught in the crossfire between steps 1 and 2. Your internal world is totally aligned. The cut feels physically comfortable, your nervous system is finally relaxed, but the external world just hasn't fully booted up to step 3 yet. Give them a minute. And because of that super awkward lag time, you will inevitably end up asking yourself this incredibly heavy internal question. The disorientation is relentless. It really is. Did I mess up? Was this a huge mistake? But I need you to hear this. The answer is a resounding no. It wasn't a mistake. Sitting with this incredibly uncomfortable question is actually the very first act of genuine identity reclamation. You have to realize that genuine, profound growth is supposed to feel a little bit like loss at the very beginning. You didn't lose your identity at all. You simply disrupted the comfortable, totally static image that everyone else was relying on. And that's on them, not you. Which brings us nicely to Section 4, Rivals Confirm Your Impact. Now, this is where things get really deep. Our sources dive into this profound subconscious event the hero experienced, a literal nightmare about fighting off attackers while physically holding a pair of scissors open with your bare hands. Just imagine that imagery. This brilliantly, perfectly illustrates the hero's true subconscious identity. Think about how scissors work. They are active tools that require physical force to close. Holding them open with your hands means you are actively stopping harm directly with your own body. This is the ultimate protector's burden. Even in the darkest depths of your nightmares, your mind absolutely does not cast you as the prey. It casts you as the shield. You are the one who absorbs the hits to protect the people behind you. It's like a classic shonen-style anime trial, proving your deep inner resilience under immense, terrifying pressure. And let me tell you, that pressure is very real in the waking world too. When you make a dramatic, visible change, you suddenly become highly visible to people who might have previously ignored you. Out of nowhere, rivals emerge, and they are sneaky. Consider the exact tactics they use. They'll throw subtle little digs disguised as concern. They'll suddenly start offering completely unsolicited opinions. They'll use diminishing comparative remarks, talking about how much better you used to look, just to undermine your present state. And they will always strike with strategic timing during your most vulnerable transitions. But here's the secret. These rivals aren't actually reacting to your new hairstyle. The haircut is just a proxy. They are reacting to your disrupted identity. They are poking the bear, testing to see if your signal is weakened, hoping they can swoop in and steal a little bit of your power. But here is how we completely 100% pivot this dynamic. This is the mindset shift right here. Rivals do not target you because you are weak. Are you kidding? They target you because you are suddenly undeniable. The exact moment you stop interpreting their obsessive focus as a threat and start reading it as actual confirmation of your impact, the whole game changes entirely. Their unwanted scrutiny, it is absolute mathematical proof of your relevance. Every side eye, every uninvited comment in the break room, it is just raw data confirming that your transformation is registering on their radar. You are making waves and they are feeling the current. Section 5, the true meaning of edge. I absolutely love this quote. Edge is not a hairstyle. It is a posture. Society has this incredibly well-worn, incredibly lazy script that loves to label literally any bold personal change a midlife crisis, right? Oh, he got a new haircut, must be a crisis. We have to reject that narrative entirely. It's nonsense. Real edge, the authentic kind that truly makes people stop and take notice, has absolutely nothing to do with the sharpness of a fade or the length of your bangs. It is the unshakable, quiet confidence that lives strictly below the surface. Your rivals can run their mouths and comment on the hair all they want, but they cannot even touch the bedrock of character underneath. Because true, lasting transformation involves so much unseen work. As highlighted by top industry sources like the Monolith blog, Zergius, and Sean Salon, a haircut is a deeply intimate form of self-expression. It starts with trusting the actual craft of your barber to help align your physical comfort with your inner mental well-being. But honestly, getting up out of that barber's chair is just the starting line. What truly matters are the invisible daily reps you put in afterward. It's the resilience and the clear intention you carry with you into the world every single day. By doing that, you are actively co-authoring your new chapter. You are proving to yourself and everyone else that adaptability itself is your greatest, most formidable strength.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, Rebuilding Your Authentic Identity.
Let's trace this entire timeline back and see how beautifully this builds across the classic stages of a hero's arc. It always begins with the catalyst, that impulsive, brave cut that totally disrupts the status quo. Then you inevitably enter the crucible, that messy crisis phase where recognition drops, your identity wavers, and the rivals start crawling out of the woodwork. But if you hold strong, then comes the reframe, that glorious moment of recognizing that those rivals are actually just fuel, confirming your immense impact on the room, which finally inevitably leads to the new edge, a hardened self defined entirely by pure adaptability and fierce authenticity. Now, to guarantee you are competing out there on actual, undeniable substance rather than just surface-level aesthetics, you must follow these 3 highly actionable steps. Step 1, build skills. Look, whether it is your career, your art, your physical fitness, true, undeniable competence will always outlast cheap criticism, period. Step 2, build confidence. Grounded, deep-rooted self-belief is unshakable. It literally cannot be clipped away by scissors, and it certainly can't be chipped away by petty office gossip. And step 3, build identity. When you know exactly who you are, when you know the core values you stand for, it completely renders your rivals irrelevant. They are out there desperately fighting a shadow, while you are quietly building an impenetrable fortress. So, we want to leave you today with this final, truly profound thought. Your edge was never lost, not for a second. It was only being reforged in the fires of change. This entire journey we just mapped out, it proves your immense, undeniable internal courage. Those old high school fears, they have been completely rewritten. That awkward recognition lag, it's going to pass. And those rivals, well, they've only proven how powerful you actually are. The only question left to answer now is, who will you choose to become next, now that your true identity is utterly undeniable? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep transforming, keep growing, keep building that fortress, and we will definitely see you next time.